Okay, ciao everybody. Okay, bear with me 1 second while I just invite Federico. Da-da-da-da-da. Instagram really needs to sort this beginning bit out. There we go. Okay, invitation sent. Hey Pete. Hey Yasmin. Okay, let's see. Nope. Still waiting to send an invite to Fedi. Okay, invitation sent. What's up, Ilias? Hello, Claire. Hey. So, Fedi, you should have a joining invitation. Yes.
Here I am. I do not hear you.
Do you hear me now?
Now, yes.
My headphones were connected over there.
Sorry.
How's life? How are you, Fedi?
I'm fine. A little bit tired. Many projects in my mind, but it's okay.
Yeah. It's winter now. You're wrapped up. You're inside, but you're wearing a coat.
Fucking freezy here in Italy. There were 2 degrees this morning. I miss Egypt weather. I miss Lanzarote weather.
Yeah.
Warm water. I saw all of you in the hub for the competition that were having really nice time, and I know that this year the water was extremely warm, so
Yeah.
I invite you.
Yeah. I tell you, I did my first summer in all the way through in Egypt this year, and it was very challenging. July, August was very hard. Yeah.
Are you in Egypt now?
Yeah, I'm in Dahab now. Yeah.
Good. So okay. Also with good connection, because we never know in Dahab.
Yeah, I am. No, this place, my apartment has awesome connections, so this is going to be absolutely fine. Yeah, well, look, firstly, thank you so much for coming on, man. You were the person I had in the background thinking it would be amazing to get Fedi on, especially as this is about EQ. I mean, who better to get on? So thank you so much for agreeing to join. It's been a really fun, we've done 6 episodes, you're number 7, and it's been really fun. We've got a lot of great feedback. We've helped out a lot of people, I think, and it's just generated a lot more of a conversation around one of the things, most important skills we need to master, really.
Yeah. Equalisation.
Yeah. So, well, I've got loads of questions. We won't chit chat too much. I think we'll just get into some questions and then see how we go.
Yeah? Let's go. How it works.
All right. All right. Straight in with Ilias. Ilias is a young Egyptian kid that I've been coaching. He's one to watch. He's quite an interesting prospect. He's asking, how deep should someone with good management, in theory, be able to take a 20-meter deep charge? I think he's thinking about how deep he's going to go one day.
Okay. First of all, thanks for inviting me. This is a really nice moment for all of us. Every time we can share our knowledge, our experience with all the community is better, because if the community grow up in a good way, we are all happy about that. To answer the question, I would divide the charge moment in 2 different moments in the history of freediving. So there are 2 approaches. The first approach, I think, is that are the freedivers that are used to try to charge deep or to do some charge, and after 5, 10, 15 meters to do a refill. So refill the... I think that this is a quite old approach. I remember when Patrick Musimu teach me the mouthfeel, our goal, it was to fill the mouthfeel around 30, 35, some one of us 38, the mouthfeel, simply because we were aware that we were not mastering properly the mouthfeel. So the mistake were that we were swallowing, or sometimes the equalization were stopping to works. So the idea was to charge extremely deep, because the goal was to go deep. Mm-hmm. It was not to work on the technique. Today, what we try to teach when we have some athletes, when I work with athletes, when I coach athletes, is not how far they can go. So the depth is just a consequence, but to train a lot consistency. If your dives are repeatable, so that means that you do always the same charge at the same depth, and you can go always at the same, you have always the same delta, that means that you have good consistency. But to develop good consistency, you need repetition. Mm-hmm. If you start to try immediately to charge at 20 or 25 or deeper, you will dive quite deep, extremely deep. So that means that you can do one dive per session with this technique. Yeah. That means that there is not repetition, and you cannot create automatism. So what usually I suggest to the students, to the freediver, is start to fill around 5 meters and see how far you go until you find good consistency. Then at 10 meters, then at 15 meters. And only after that, when you reach a good consistency, you can dive, you can decide to charge deeper. Just to give you some idea about the athletes I work with, when we start to charge around 10, so just one charge with one full charge, then you will let me know if you agree with my numbers. A really good charge, well done, and you master the technique. If you charge around 10, you can be able to dive between 60 and 70 meters without any problem. Mm. Charging around 15, I have had athletes that are able to dive between 90, and the best one is around 110. That can dive charging at 15, and charging at 20 meters, you should pass 120 meters.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the numbers I got in my mind. So when I hear the students that, oh, I'm charging at 25 and around 55, 60, I finish my hair. So, or you swallow back the air, or you do the ducky noise,
yeah,
and the Gladys is leaking, or you just feel your cheeks and you forget to drop down the tongue. So there are many mistakes that you can do if you have some kind of problem, yeah, during the descent. Do you agree with my numbers?
Yeah, I think so. There's not something I've tested very accurately, but like just from my observation with people I'm working with, I think those numbers make sense. It would be, you know, it's rare to see somebody with a 20-meter fill going so deep as you describe. I get many people who definitely that mindset of people trying to charge as deep as they possibly can. I see that every day. And the first thing I do is I chop that in half and get them filling at 5 to start with. If I'm just starting with someone, 10 is more than enough to work on the depths that most people are going to. So yeah, and I like what you're saying, and I hope people take notice about the volume, the amount of training you can do. Because, you know, one dive to 60, 70, that's your session done, really.
You are exhausted and no way to work on the technique.
Yeah, and the focus is gone, because some of these things, when you're learning them, you need quite a lot of focus, and you can't maintain that focus for a long time, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but also because the great depth, when you start to dive deeper than 70, 80, it gets tiring, not only physically, but mentally.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, if we were running a marathon, we cannot run a marathon every single training. You have to work on the technique, on fartlek, on changing speed, or aerobic, anaerobic way. So we should find a way to train also the equalization in this way. That's why we, in share equalization, we introduce the partial charge, the different ratio, only with chicks, only with the partial charge, because in this way, in the very first 50 meters, or a little bit more if you want, but in 50 meters, you can do all the training you need, okay? I remember when I was competing, I was not diving deep until between 4 and 6 weeks before the competition. I was doing many dives around 50 meters, working on the technique, on the consistency. So I can dive 8, 10 times in 50 meters without any problem, and listening what's happened. This is what I think the best approach in working on experience and awareness about what you are doing.
Yeah, that's actually a really big question, isn't it? We could actually probably talk for quite a long time on that. Yeah, so Ilias, 20-meter charge should take you to 140 meters, 120 meters.
Yeah, 120, yeah. World record, almost.
Yeah. This is actually interesting. It's not a question that we got sent in, but it's one I wrote down thinking it would be nice to talk about. At some point, humans' mouthfeels are going to run out. Like, you know, so theoretical, like, ultimate EQ limit without anything like the EQ tool, like Herbert Nietzsche and the Coke bottle, just with us and the volumes here. Where do you think that limit lies? Because, you know, we've got people diving 140.
I don't know about how far the limit of the equalization is, but I think that we went through 3 different eras from the end of 19th year, around 2000, until now. Because if we think at the beginning of I would say that who did the difference in depth is the Frenzel-Fatah technique, known as mouthfeel, but the real name is Frenzel-Fatah. So the father of this technique is Eric Fatah, the French-Canadian freediver. And in the 2001, the world record was 80 meters from Umberto Pellizzari, and then Eric Fatah did 82 around the 2001. And before 2001, the limit, the must in freediving was relaxation, because nobody was knowing evolved equalization technique. So what's happened is that the goal of relaxation was to be able to shift air from lungs to the mouth deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So that's why you had to relax, because the attention was not on the equalization, but on shifting air. So you have to be able to move down the limit of the last air transition. In 2001, Eric Fatah introduced this technique, and freedivers started to use it. In 10 years, we moved to 120, 24, 25, or 27. The 57, no, 124, the world record. 44 meters more, 57% more. This is a big change, a big change. In the other, so from 21 to 2011. 2011, 2020, won, the world record was 130. So only 6 meters more. So the depth increased a lot, and then the improvement were almost flat. Why? Because the limit is not the equalization anymore now for the evolved freediver, for athletes. Because during this period, we had a problem with the Neri Guillaume where the judges set the depth at 139 and they did an announcement 129. They did a mistake. They put the bottom plate 10 meters deeper and he went there. He already went to 139. So the equalization was not the moment, was not the problem. Now the problem is the dive time. Now, from 2021 to 2023, the record are increasing again faster and faster and faster. We are on the second pinnacle because somehow freediver know how to manage hypoxia. So we are into a new era, but we still didn't know which is the reason why freedivers are able to hold their breath so long.
That's a fascinating answer, and I like what you're saying about there is 3 clear peaks in the last 20 years of competition. You know, it's very clear when you lay it out like that. And like, I doubt we could find another sport where there's been a 57% increase in world records.
Yeah, you know? That means that we are extremely far from the real limits.
Yeah, interesting. Oh, that's another fascinating question.
Well, I love numbers because if we look numbers from different perspective, that is not just wow, fascinating by the numbers, but you look them from far. They can tell us many things, and I like statistics to understand where we are going. Yeah,
stats are very important. Yeah, interesting. So I guess the answer to that is who knows. One day, maybe we'll never find out, but who knows where the limit of deep EQ is going to be. Okay, there's another question here which I think is quite nice. Someone with your experience. It's not quite EQ, but I like to mix it up a little bit.
Okay.
Tam, she's a good friend, good safety diver, and she's asking, what would be the secret to a long, sustainable freediving career? I don't think she's talking professionally. I'm just thinking, in your experience, you've been freediving for a really long time. Is there any things you sort of live by? Any secrets?
I don't have many secrets. Well, I don't think to be the perfect person to answer to this question because my career was very short.
Okay.
Because I was competing from the 2007 up to 2011, just for 4 years. Because then I decided that I fell in love with teaching, and I decided that I'm going to be a professional in teaching. Well, what I think is that, but the first secret is to enjoy a lot, because is to always be close to the limit is extremely stressful mentally. And the oxygen consumption depends a lot from the emotional brain. So if we must do the result, if we must do the training, if everything move into a must, it will become extremely tiring.
Yeah,
I remember in my career that there was one moment where I was running back numbers, and all trainings were extremely tiring I was feeling exhausted, and I was not succeeding. The sea were kicking my ass back, always at the same depth.
Yeah.
With the watch, without watch, with the mouthfeel, without the mouthfeel, because it was becoming tiring here in my mind. So what I decided is it was to stop to try to go deeper and to enjoy the water. I was living in Sharm, so I started to play with fishes, to dive, to catch pictures, and blah 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 blah. And I increased a lot my dive time. I changed a little bit my approach in the balance, in the buoyancy, so trying to put my neutral buoyancy a little bit deeper, reducing the effort during the descent. But the main secret for me, it was to enjoying a lot and to share everything with the ones that were around me. I remember when I started to very beginning of my career teaching, it was 2008 to 2009. I was starting to teach during my workshop the sequential equalization. And one day, one athlete phoned me and told me, "Why you are teaching that?" Because it works, simply because I help people to go deeper in a comfortable way. Yes, but if you teach this, everybody will know, and somebody will be able to go deeper than you. You lose your records. And they said, I'm not interested in keeping my record if I have the motorbike and the other ones have the bike. I want to compete with the same conditions. So I take pleasure in sharing my knowledge, my experience, also because I improved, because somebody was sharing with me his feeling. So enjoying and sharing, I think, is the most secret to have a longer career. And the other thing is that I think that the freediving is very mental sport. So where the mental side is extremely important. So, you know, we are not exactly teenager, and we can dive quite deep also, yeah. If we are over 40.
I mean, other sports, at 40, you're finished. Yeah. At 30, you're finished.
Yeah, if you work really hard, at 35, you are at the end of your career.
Yeah, that's fascinating. This is one thing I really enjoyed about learning from you through the Share Instructor courses. Your ethos about sharing knowledge. I think it's wonderful, and it's a real shame when you come across someone who thinks they have to keep things to themselves. They think anybody who meets somebody that says they have secrets that will make you better, probably they don't have anything. Probably it's just a sales pitch. Just a sales pitch.
You know, I think that you are, if you are extremely good in something and you are jealous about that, you are not very good.
Yeah.
Because if you are extremely good and you share, if somebody try to do copy and paste of your material, when you will finish to understand what he is doing, you are already forward.
Yeah.
You know, when you share and you meet people that understand and give you feedbacks, very often we can improve our material on equalization simply because other students or other instructor have different feeling and give you a different feedback from your thoughts. And you improve because of the community, not because you are the greatest one. So the sharing knowledge and experience help to put together people that think differently. There is a sentence that I love that say that everywhere everybody thinking the same way, nobody is thinking a lot.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, enjoy the process, Tam, because the process is all there is. There's no finish line. Yeah, it's the process every day, and we're so fortunate. We're both lucky enough to do a job that we absolutely love. So
Yeah.
I give thanks to that every day. Yeah, fantastic, awesome answer. Okay, back to the EQ. Matilda, who in her question she's invited us both to Martinique, where she lives.
Okay.
So
Okay, perfect.
that's good to have friends in such nice places. So hello, Matilda. So this is quite a common thing as well, and this would be interesting to get your opinion on this. She says during mouthfeel, there's a phase after using the air in cheeks and jaw when we move into frenzels, start to employ the tongue. Usually for her, it's between 45-50. Why does she so often have a leak with the glottis opening? She's asking, like, what could it be if it's not lack of relaxation or applying too much pressure? So I guess those are the two things she's seen as problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I presume she's done work to help with her relaxation, to help reducing the pressure. This is very common because I used to swallow at this depth all the time. I had a big period where I was stuck.
Looking at the athletes we are working with, we understood that the problem is not the glottis. Yeah. Because if the problem is like, you know, I always enjoy a lot when some athletes do some early turn around, maybe they announce 90 and they turn at 70. And they come back saying, the eustachian tube closed there. Bullshit. You did mistakes. You just say that you did mistake. It can happen, okay? Because if the eustachian tube have a problem, it started to have problem from the beginning.
Yeah.
Not 10 meters before your bottom. The glottis is leaking, or we swallow back completely the air, and usually is when we finish the jaw compression or the cheeks compression, and we start we move into the transition with the tongue compression.
Yeah,
and usually tongue mistake drive the glottis to start to leak or to swallow back the air. Simply because the very often we do not feel exactly the air that we have in the mouth, and it's quite common to move the back part of the tongue into a K lock. Okay, and we still have hair in front of the tongue, on the front part of the tongue. But behind there, we have we do the last equalization, and usually in this moment, freedivers move into sequential equalization. Why? Simply because they are doing, usually without any consciousness, reverse packing. Because we cannot drop down the tongue down there if we do not open the glottis.
Yeah.
So very often we have freedivers that have sometimes also full cheeks. I'm letting air coming out through the nose. My cheeks are full, but this is air that I'm not using. And I'm doing small reverse packing in a K-lock. But when you are down there, you have vacuum in the lungs, you pass the residual volume. So on the oropharynx, you are pushing the air. From lungs, there is the pressure. So there is the air that is pushing on the glottis, the lungs that are pulling on the glottis. You are moving the glottis, and the glottis open completely, so you feel all the air that move down, or you feel the ducky noise. The ducky noise usually is connected to or too high pressure in trying to equalize. So the vowel cords, the ducky noise is just vowel cords that are licking back air. So the vibration of vowel cords. We are pushing too much, or we have the tongue in a specific position and we change the shape of the larynx. So vowel cords are not closing again in this way, but they close in this way. So the air can leak back, easier. So I will do a question to the ones that are listening this online call. Try to check where is the tip of your tongue when you hear the ducky noise. We already know, but you have to become aware about what you're doing. You know, what we usually do in the method, and I think you agree about that, is that we do not tell to our students which is the mistake they are doing. We try to drive them in recognizing the mistake, in becoming aware about the mistake. Because if you become aware about the mistake, you go through the mistake, you feel it, and this is the moment where you can change. If you just have the knowledge about the mistake and you don't have the feeling of the mistake, you cannot change it. And it's harder to improve.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. So, yeah, I like that. I think at the moment that mistake happens, they need to be aware of what position everything is in. Yeah. And if someone comes up and they can't tell you that, then it's an awareness problem. You know, sometimes we need to wait for someone's awareness to come up so they can give us feedback. I mean, you're lucky because your eyes, you've got X-ray eyes. You can look at somebody and just see the buttons and the tongue.
Usually I say that I do not have a webcam on my laptop. I have an MRI camera.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's really interesting because that is a major problem. It's still a problem I'm encountering every day with people, you know, swallowing, squeaking, losing air. Yeah. Fantastic. But the best way, of course, would be to come and do a course on the Share platform, which we will talk about at the end. Right, I didn't have another question lined up. What question should we go for? Okay, there's sort of a two-pronged question for this, because I hear the terms strength mentioned a lot in equalization, or not necessarily strength, but weakness. People say my glottis is weak, which says to me on the other side that you need to strengthen it. But I've never done weight training for my glottis. I've never done resistance work. I don't have a big glottis. Yeah, so this sort of terminology, it's a bit of a funny one.
I understand that, and I have the answer.
Yes.
It's not something about power of muscles. No. It's just something about awareness and coordination.
Yeah.
Why? Because all inner muscles of our face are extra powered. Muscles for eyes, tongue, soft palate, glottis, all those muscles cannot get tired. So they are overpowered between 50 and 100 times of their needs.
Wow.
When we read, our eyes are always doing that. Saccadic movement or pursuit movement, if you are looking something that is movement. The tongue cannot be tired. I'm always joking. I say that My mom is the demonstration, scientific demonstration that the tongue would never get tired.
You might not be far off.
Okay, and the same is the glottis. The problem is that the perfect equalization is like to work at the Cirque du Soleil of equalization, because the good equalizer is a juggler that is able to juggle with 5 balls: the tongue, the glottis, the soft palate, the jaw, and the cheeks. So if we think that the glottis is leaking because the glottis does not work, the glottis shouldn't work already in the very first 15 meters. If the glottis stop to work always at the same depth, there is something down there that changed the condition, that allowed the glottis to work properly. So we have to understand, because sometimes the structure that lose the control is not the origin of the problem. If we have a back pain, the problem maybe is not the back. Maybe it's the jaw, maybe it's one leg shorter than the other one, maybe it's the pelvis that is twist. We never know. We have to understand the real origin of the problem. And this is the power of the instructor to be able to understand which is the problem.
Yeah.
So I don't think that there are some muscles that work better or less in equalization. I just think that we can have good coordination or bad coordination. And that's why the most important thing, I think, in equalization is to work with equalization with dry exercises without the water. But for a very simple, for two simple reasons. If you do dry training, you can do it often. If you do it often, you can have adaptation, and you can create good motor automatism, motor skills. Secondary is that in dry session, you can work isolating the movement. I work only on the control of the glottis. I work only on the control of the tongue. I start to work with coordination with glottis and tongue. So you isolate the movement according to your needs that are not freediving needs. Because when we go directly in the water, we must use all the 5 balls. We must use the glottis to perform frenzel, the tongue, the soft palate. We must do something. And we are seduced to, I have to go deeper. And that's extremely fast to move into instinctive skills, because we are not training the new technique. Out of water, you can decide, okay, today I just work the soft palate.
Yeah.
And you get all the soft palate skills. Okay, do you remember how difficult it was at the beginning to work with the full control of the soft palate? Some of us were able to learn in 3 days. Some others, it take 3 months to understand exactly how to use it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love what you're saying about the developing the automation. You know, it's the motor skills they take. This is one of the things I definitely use that I learned from you is the volume that people can get when they start to use dry skills. It's just completely, you know, after an hour in the water, you're burnt out no matter what you do.
But we saw then when you have, you know, we never met each other. We never went in the water.
No.
With David Meller, with David, I saw him 1 week in in Lanzarote.
Yeah.
With Alice Modolo, we work a lot in dry. With Fabio Tunno, we work a lot. With Ilaria, we work. So there are many instructors that after improving dry skills, improve a lot also in the water. But the dry work is essential to improve the equalization.
Yeah,
you can improve also in the water, but it will be longer, longer, and longer. Because in the water is like to juggle with 5 balls, but walking on the tightrope. It's harder to learn.
Yeah, it's too much that needs to happen at the same time. And then you've got stress about what depth you're going to, you've got stress about breath hold, you've got stress about being cold and all of this stuff. So really, like the biggest gains in my freediving were when I really started to learn to appreciate the importance of training outside of the water. Because my water time is very precious. If I'm in the water, I want to use every second of it for the fun stuff. Yeah.
Also because the water is extremely tiring. If you cannot spend 3 hours in the water. After 45 minutes, it's finished. Concentration, you're cold. It's tiring, the water.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Awesome. Right. Actually, funny you mentioned Ilaria, because I did have a question from her, which I'm just trying to find on my computer. Yeah. So, question from Ilaria. She had a great competition, by the way. First day she wasn't feeling very well, but she did some very nice dives, and she was very happy.
Brava.
Very nervous, but very happy. Yeah, brava. So she's asking, like, what you think the most common reason for she uses the term averagely good mouthfeel, say 0 surface to 20. How do you improve that ratio, that surface ratio?
Surface, I improve.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's going. I don't know if she's asking about herself or for a friend, but a surface ratio 0 to 20. How would we look at improving that?
So first of all, I would ask her, when we start a new technique, when we start with evolved frenzel, I mean evolved frenzel, all the frenzel when after the charge, your tongue is neutral. So you are using a lips lock, a P-lock.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we work with an evolved frenzel, we have 2 different ways to push the air to the middle ear. On demand, or sequential equalization, or constant pressure equalization. Okay? Those are 2 different techniques to push the air to the middle ear. Okay? So let's say that this is the air that you have in your mouth. Okay, on demand or sequential, the volume is changing, is reducing because of the depth. So on demand, you just push the air to the middle ear when you need. Okay. With constant pressure equalization, you keep the eustachian tube always open. You do not have any feedback on the eardrum because you have the extraflexion during all the way long. Okay. And if you use those 2 techniques properly, the result. So the first test that you have to do is that if you use the sequential or constant pressure, you have the same ratio. If the ratio is different, there are some mistakes. If the ratio is higher in the sequential, that means you are introducing reverse packing.
Yeah, that makes very good sense.
When you release, you don't know what you're doing with the glottis in this moment. So that's why with the beginner in evolved technique, I mean, so already diver, I prefer to work with the constant pressure technique. Simply because, not because it is a better technique, but simply because the feedback, you never lose the connection to the air. You are always pushing, and you feel moment by moment what's happened. So if you open the glottis, you got it immediately. So it's a technique that gives you back many information. You have many feedbacks from this technique. So for learning at the beginning is better. Then if you are sure that you recognize the air and you do not open the glottis, you can move into the on-demand equalization. Trying to answer to Ilaria, 0-20 is already a good ratio. That is a ratio around 3. Okay. The best dive I saw in my life without any reverse packing, so diving with the students, checking the Adam maple, the under chin, and everything, it was between 34 and 35. Okay, so a ratio of 4.4.
Nice.
4.5, that is extremely high. Usually, the average is between 20, 23, 24, 25.
Yeah.
That is already quite good. What I saw when those students want to improve, they have to learn more how to drop down the back part of the tongue.
During each equalization? Or
No. I mean during the charge.
Yeah, charge.
Because very often students focus themselves in filling cheeks.
Yeah.
But they forget to drop down the tongue. But I know Ilaria very well, and she dropped. So when she performed the charge, the B charge or the M charge, she should dive to 50 from 0. So it would be nice to see her in the water to understand exactly where she's losing air, or asking her if she's doing command equalization.
Also, like, I mean, Ilaria, if you listen to this, like, maybe think back to before you got sick, because I don't know if you knew, Fedi, she got quite sick in summer. I think it was COVID actually, and it left one of her tubes a bit challenging, and it's been, you know, so for the last month we've been training together. I've been coaching her. We had to restructure everything.
Thanks for this input, because we are trying. Maybe it would be nice to do a survey. Think about it, then we can share with the community. What's happened to me in summer? I had so many instructors and so many athletes who wrote me telling me, David also wrote me, Fede, listen, I have a problem. I'm not changing anything in my equalization. I'm struggling with equalization of my eustachian tube. They do not work very well after a bad cold. And I started to investigate after September, simply because I had a bad cold. I didn't check if it was COVID or not. I think yes. But the problem is that at the end of August, it was not September, because of that cold that I suppose was COVID, I lost my hands-free equalization. For 3 months, I was not able to open my eustachian tube anymore without the normal pressure that I was used, because I learned hands-free equalization. So I started to write back to the ones that were writing me, did you check if it was COVID? Did you check or not? And many of them told me it was COVID. So I suppose that the last wave of COVID could attack the mucus of the nasopharynx or the eustachian tube, because my feeling is that my eustachian tube is getting collapsed and I'm not able to, I have to push more to equalize. And yeah, it would be nice to understand how many of free divers of our community fall in this problem.
Mm. Yeah, actually, I can do that. I can set up. I'll do a survey on my story maybe tomorrow.
Would be nice
see if we
to
can
understand if there are some numbers.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that tomorrow. Okay. Well, Ilaria, thank you for a great question. A little side tangent here. FRC diving for EQ training. Are you a fan? Do you use FRCs with students?
No, I don't use with students.
No.
I don't. First of all, because I do not like too much personally FRC.
Yeah.
I use them with evolved athletes. For that, yes. I introduce FRC when I run courses FSI because they are in the standard. I use FRC to be sure that the evolved athletes does not use reverse packing, because they feel, they recognize, but they are much more aware if they shift air after an FRC. I think that it can be useful to work in shallower water to reproduce the depth. I don't think it can be so useful in equalization, simply because the FRC can move the attention. I don't know if you are used to the FRC dives or not, if you like it or you don't. Yeah, but what's happened to me when I was training FRC, the feeling that I had on my rib cage around 30, 35 or 40 was quite painful. Mm-hmm. It was strange. It wasn't like when I was diving to 100 or 90 or 110 full lungs. So the feeling is completely different. I don't know if you agree about that. I was not feeling on my rib cage the same feeling that I was having during very deep dive, very deep, my deep dive. Now they are, for someone probably 100 meters is shallow. So I were not used to work a lot on FRC. I would say that yes, it can be useful on the stretching of the rib cage, because you feel all the ribs that are working a lot. I don't know about equalization. I use FRC in dry exercise with equalization.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, starting condition. Yeah, I think it also. I think the use of FRC is very popular, you know, and I think it crosses into what we spoke about strengthening the glottis. I think people are trying to, their thought is to make this more secure, work it hard, you know, and they think on FRC they're putting a lot of work on this and that's going to build it up and make it strong. But you know, I'm the same with you. I actually spoke to someone today just about this, like how a 100-meter dive does not feel anything like a 20-meter FRC. 20-meter FRC is like you have a car on your chest.
Yeah.
But 100, nothing like that. I mean, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't go to 100 and be feeling like that. No way. Yeah. So I understand the maths works out and the physics and the volumes and stuff, but it doesn't feel the same. And yeah, I stopped using them a long time ago with students. I just had, there's too many incidences of injury, and also there's a culture of people competing for PB dives with FRC. I mean, this is completely wrong. You know, yeah, people saying celebrating a new depth with FRC, it's not what it's for. Yeah, so I'm glad you you don't use FRCs for students as well. Yeah, would you use RV?
Sometimes, but I'm not so used to do it. Yeah. My experience is, you know, when I'm used to speak about what I go through, and I use a lot on myself, and I can speak about details about the different techniques. If I'm not used a lot to use some technique, I have to be honest. I don't use a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's interesting. That's a whole other episode, I think, on just exhale diving. Okay, I have a question from a friend of mine, Steve. Stephen is a breathwork coach. And I'm wondering if there's crossover with this. Do you think he's asking about the purpose of overbreathing during a breathe up? Because I think this has a crossover into equalization a little bit. Do you think there's any utility in manipulating your breath in any way before a dive?
I love this subject because I'm doing I'm working hard on this side. I'm trying to create the same platform we did on the equalization on the breath work.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. And what I saw in my career in 20 years now, that means that I'm pretty old, is that all athletes, almost, many freedivers knows how do they work doing some specific exercises. So I must breathe out double time than the inhalation. So I breathe in 3 seconds, I breathe out 6 seconds because we need to do that. Hyperventilation, overbreathing, no way to do that because it's forbidden. And usually what I ask is that, how can you know that is good for you? And they just repeat that, okay, my instructor told me, or my coach told that I have to do that. Okay, so how can you know that this is good for you? Don't know. And so what I ask, so what I'm developing in this method that I mentioned is to define how do we work, so which is our physiologic response, how do we respond without doing anything. So what I do, I check all the performances. So when do you have your first contraction in static apnea? What's the feeling without any technique of breathing? Tidal volume. Let's check how your body reacts. How you can hold your breath without doing anything. And then what I do, I change one variable every single time, giving specific exercise, and I check which is their reaction. So for me, there is not a right way to breathe. There is the right way for the athlete, for the freediver. Okay, it's like to say okay, the sun is dangerous. Yes, the sun is dangerous, but if you bring a guy with white skin that come from Finland and you put 3 hours under the sun in Sharm el Sheikh, you got a lobster after 3 hours. If you bring Fabio Tunno, that is a false German, that is half Italian, after 3 hours, he became like Egyptian. He does not need any cream. So the problem is not how do you breathe. The problem is your reaction to the different variables. So what I'm doing is to define the protocol, how to check your reaction to everything. Because I saw that there are athletes that can do hyperventilation, like for 2 minutes, they do not feel dizziness or tingling. They feel normally. Wow. Their reaction to the CO2 wash is nothing. Some other, if they do 3 times, they fall down completely. Others, if the last inhalation is too deep, they lose relaxation because the rib cage is stiff. So they put a lot of air, but they lose relaxation. So the reaction in the urge to breathe is earlier. Branko Petrovic packed 41 times before static. Wow. When he lay down to start the static, he float on the water. His back is out of water.
Yeah, I've seen him, big curve.
Yeah, like he's a balloon.
Yeah.
on the water. So I don't have an answer. I think that all the techniques have to be fit on the person.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I think that's good point about it's not one shoe fits everybody. But it's about experimenting.
What do you think about?
I think it has some use. I think it can be a little bit of a shortcut, you know, because if you're having trouble with contractions pulling your mouth fill out, you know, if you change your breathe up, you can quite quickly in 1 or 2 sessions make a change and have some slightly more relaxing free falls. But also I think there's no substitute for increasing your general fitness and your general CO2 tolerance, which takes a longer time, you know. But it's a very thin rope to walk because you hyperventilate too much and you're going to get in a lot of trouble.
But I'm studying that because I discovered this year, thanks to a very good doctor, Barbara Volpe, that contraction sometimes does not come because of the urge to breathe, but it just become because the shape of let's say in a simple way, because of the shape of the rib cage. So when you go down, the volume change, the volume is activating the diaphragmatic contraction.
Of course.
We had many athletes that have the first contraction around 2 minutes in static apnea, and they start the contraction after 20 seconds diving deep.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm guessing if she's a doctor, she's probably seeing some kind of evidence.
I'm studying thanks to her. I'm trying to understand which are the action that are activating diaphragmatic contraction, and I think that we can do really a very, very good program and protocols that can help a lot freedivers, because right now I do not have an answer for the the athletes that start with contraction, early contraction during the descent. It's hard to help them.
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. I think Steve's going to be really interested in seeing what you find out, basically, because he's very heavily into breath work, and he helped me out a lot this summer, managing my nervous system, managing my rest throughout competition. It's been very useful. So yeah, that's an interesting subject. We're talking for a very long time. We should have booked this for a 2-hour call.
But you know, with Italian, it's really hard to respect the time.
I know. I know. So I think I have a nice one. We'll finish off with the last question, and then we can just talk about the share platform a little bit. But this is something I come across a lot, because hands-free is something that everybody wants to learn, and someone's asking. I'll find their name. Yes, Benjamin Franklin, very witty. He's asking, like, is it teachable? He's actually doing one of your courses. He says he's finally getting the grasp of hands-free thanks to your fly course. Do you think BTV is teachable? I mean, if you've published a course to learn BTV, then you think it is, obviously.
It is. You know, why do I teach? Because I was a Valsalva that was not able to dive head first.
Wow.
And I spent the first year with the instructor trying to relax and to become water in the very frustrating years, until I decided to study by myself how to learn equalization. I became Frenzel, and after to write, it's quite funny, because I wrote my first book on equalization in 2009. And there was a chapter where I was, I published it in February 2009. And there was a chapter when I was talking about hands-free equalization, and I wrote, is a gift from Mother Nature, hands-free equalization. So you can learn. You have or you don't. But in August, I learned hands-free equalization, so I had to write the second book. Yes, I think that is teachable to whole normal Frenzel. So what do I mean with for the ones that have a normal functionality of the eustachian tube, how do we define normal functionality? I would say all the ones that are able to equalize with Frenzel around 30 or less hectopascal. If you have IQ tool that unfortunately does not work on the Android platform anymore, it works only if you have it on. It doesn't. I don't know if there is a bug or something, but everyone that have an Android system is not very happy. And if you have an equalization that is around 30 hectopascal, working on the coordination, on the jaw movement, soft palate, so it's a kind of combination. Like a naturally hands-free equalization, but is absolutely teachable. Absolutely.
Right. Well, that's good to know. Maybe I can learn it one day.
but remember that the hands-free equalization have always a limit. So the hands-free equalization is you dive in hands-free because it's comfortable. If you are an instructor, it's easier to do the remora with your students and you touch the students. You understand the mistake. If you have to take a picture, but the hands-free equalization have limits. That is the mask, the equalization of the mask.
Yeah. Because
the middle ear is in parallel to the mask. So mask, nasopharynx, and the middle ear are in parallel.
Yeah.
So when you are able to open your eustachian tube, the pressure that you have in the middle ear is the same pressure that you have in the nasopharynx and in the oropharynx. As soon you cannot equalize the mask anymore, The mask will do a kind of ventouse of your face, and if you open the eustachian tube, the mask will suck out the air from the eustachian tube. So this is the limits of the hands-free equalization. Okay. Sometimes students ask me, okay, but I'm going to dive with the nose clip. But nose clip, we cannot define the border between hands-free and frontal. How can you see? How can you say that is an hands-free if you pinch the nostrils with the nose clip? It's like to dive with somebody else that pinch your nose and you said, wow, I'm not using my hand, I'm diving hands-free.
Yeah, that's the hands-free that I can
do. Okay. Everyone can do that.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. But if anyone is looking at learning hands-free, you should definitely check out the Fly course on the Share platform. Yeah, it'll definitely give you the best starting point you can. Yeah. Have you ever? This is a weird question. Sorry, I'll keep talking. I've seen some people here. They take earphones, music.
Yeah, put it in the nose. You understand if you can open the eustachian tube.
Okay,
this is.
So it's not a prank.
You can understand if you can create the buoyancy of the eustachian tube. So you can put headphone in your mouth or in the nose. You can hear the sound from the inner part.
Because it kind of makes sense, but also I kind of think, hang on, are they playing a joke on me? But yeah, it makes sense. Okay, good.
Yeah, don't use AirPods because you can swallow back.
Expensive, yeah.
You need a wire.
Yeah. Look, I mean, we didn't even get through half the questions, but we'll save them for another time. We'll save them for our next call.
Of course.
Yeah, if anyone is looking to improve their EQ, definitely the Share courses are brilliant. They're just a very clean, nice way to present information. I think there's a few people in the world now who have very good information about freediving. But what I like about the Share is the way it's presented to the student. You clearly understand the psychology of how people learn new skills, and the way it's done. You know, there's an objective for every skill you're doing. There's a reason for doing everything, and I think people really need to understand why they're learning a certain skill.
Yeah. The value is extremely important. You have to understand why you have to learn this. So
for sure. Yeah.
There is we created this method doing something. You start from the basis, and every single time you just had one thing. We never put more variable together because too many input make the execution difficult.
Yeah.
So you create one skill and you had one thing. When you have got the other skills, you had one. And at the end of the course, you make all the pieces together and you understand the reason you went through all these exercises.
Yeah.
Because you became, it's not only succeeding in doing something, but it's extremely important to recognize if you do some mistake. The mistake is not something that we don't have to do, we have to avoid. We have to go through the mistake, because if we know extremely well the mistake, then we can change properly.
Yeah, fantastic. What brilliant answer. Yeah, so anyone looking to improve, check out the platform. Also, instructors. This is something I recognized years ago, that there was a huge gap in knowledge about equalization coming through the courses, no matter what agency really. You come through the courses, you do your instructor course, and I felt quite unequipped, quite unprepared 10 years ago when I did my course, quite unprepared to teach EQ. So your instructor course really sort of consolidated. I was just trying to learn on my own, I was obviously listening to everybody I met, asking people's opinion, but then you become part of the soup of EQ and you don't end up taking any of it in. But with the course, your instructor course, I came out of that just feeling like, yeah, I can teach anybody this now.
The other advantage in this method is that the instructor speaks all the same language and teach all the same exercise. That's because the priority in this method is not the instructor, is the students. Because very often now I have some of my students that are telling me, okay, listen, in Christmas holiday, I want to go to train somewhere. Where do I go? I send them to Lanzarote or to Dahab, or I address them where I know that there are instructors that speak the same language, and they coach them in the same way, because I know that if I send my students to you, you know, you are doing exactly the same. They recognize the method, and they do not spend the time in recognizing how the instructor is teaching. They spend the time in the water to enjoy and to do always the same protocol. This is extremely important for the students. The share method have been creating on the students' need, not on the instructor need.
Yeah, and that's fantastic, and I think you've done an excellent job with it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the breathing platform. See when that comes out. Yeah. So if people want one-on-one time with you're based mostly at Y40, yeah?
I'm in Y40 now. I have to stop in January because, as I told you, I'm getting older. Now, after 42 years of sport, I finished the cartilage on my hip, and in January I need to do the prosthesis to my right hip. So I'm going to stop teaching in the water for some months. And we have to work. We are doing all the share courses 2.0, because now there are more than 100 instructors in the community. It started as let's start to teach equalization, but now is it became a method. It became an agency of equalization, and we are now we have 4 languages. That is French, English, Spanish, and Italian. We are defining agreement for translation in Russian, German, Chinese, and Arab. So it's getting bigger and bigger, and we are really happy about that.
That's awesome. That's really good news. I'm very happy to hear that, and it's a pleasure to be a part of it. We should go to bed. Yeah, look, thank you so much, man.
It's been a pleasure, Gary. Thanks for inviting me.
No problem. Yeah, as usual, everybody, I'll have this episode up on YouTube as quickly as I can, and then I'm also, this is the final episode for this season. I'm going to definitely do another season, perhaps change the subject slightly, but yeah, if it's obviously going to be freedive related. So Fede, back in springtime, I'll give you a call, and we'll get you on again.
Thanks a lot. It will be a pleasure to join you again.
Awesome. All right. Ciao. I'll see you soon.
Bye-bye. Have a nice evening.
Everyone.
Ciao. See you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.